Okay, I'd like to call to order the Planning and Zoning and Historic Commission of Thursday, May 5th, 2022 to order. Roll call.
Braher? Rick, am I saying it wrong?
Oh, Braher. Braher.
Braher?
Yes, here.
Bruner?
Here.
Beck? Kruger?
Here.
Stenick?
Here.
Scarpelli?
Here.
And Myers is unable to make it this evening.
Okay, the first item, since Chairman Myers is not present, the first item is I'd like somebody to make a motion to amend the agenda to include a motion for a chairman pro temp.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Braher?
Yes.
Bruner?
Yes.
Kruger?
Here.
Stenick?
Here.
And Scarpelli.
Yes. Now if any one of us can be the chairman tonight.
No,
so,
thanks. Step off that.
If you want me to be the chairman, I'm happy to do so, but somebody needs to make a motion to make me the chairman for tonight's meeting.
Wait, go ahead. Motion.
Motion, is there a second?
Yes.
Motion a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Braher?
Yes.
Bruner?
Yes.
Kruger?
Yes.
Stenick?
Yes.
And Scarpelli.
Yes. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the Planning and Zoning and Historic Commission meeting of April the 7th, 2022. Have you all had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Do any of you have any questions or changes or alterations to make?
No.
Hearing none, I would accept a motion to approve those.
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of April 7th.
Motion by Abke,
Second.
second, and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call. Catherine?
Braher?
Yes.
Bruner?
Yes.
Kruger?
Yes.
Stenick?
Yes.
And Scarpelli.
Yes. Okay, is there anybody from the public that does not have an item on the agenda tonight that would like to say anything to the Planning and Zoning Commission? Hearing none, I will move on. There's no historic business. Catherine?
No.
Okay. And there was no public comments sent into the village via email or letter?
No.
Okay. Next, that brings us to new business. The first item on the agenda under new business is public hearing for PIN number 0325215002, 507 Rock Road, East Dundee, Illinois 60118. For the following considerations: a special use for outside vehicle and equipment parking and storage, for a variance from sections 157.147B2 and 157.149B, requiring off-street parking stall parking areas shall be paved with asphalt, concrete, or comparable hard surface, all-weather dustless material, and a variance from section 157.149C, requiring screening and landscaping for all automobile parking areas containing more than 4 parking spaces on each side, adjoining or fronting as any residential or industrial property, and a variance from sections 157.149D, requiring lighting illumination of an off-street parking area shall be arranged so as to not reflect rays of light into adjacent residential districts and street. And is that the last one? I thought there was a fourth variance, but so if somebody would like to make a motion to open that public hearing, I would accept a motion at this time.
I'd like to make a motion that we open the public hearing on PIN number 0325215002, 507 Rock Road.
The motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Catherine, roll call.
Braher,
No. Discussion?
to open the public hearing.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Brunner,
Yes.
Kruger,
Yes.
Stanek,
Yes.
and Scarpelli.
Yes. Okay, anybody that, from the audience or staff that plans on making a presentation in the public hearing or speaking to the matter, Catherine needs to swear you in. If you can stand and raise your right hand.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay. Chris, do you, the staff want to make any announcements first or let the applicant go?
I think we can have the applicant go and explain what he's looking to do.
Sure.
Good evening, all. My name is Tim Winter. I'm with FS Real Estate. We own the property at 507 Rock Road. That's also where Orange Crush operates the asphalt plant for the last 20 years. I think we were there before we were up in 72, a little before my time, so I don't remember when that change happened. So we've had this property for many years. It split 20-some years ago between the two brothers, family, and we moved the plant back there. We've had trailer parking on the property that started before I was at the company. They left for many years and they came back and we just brought them back here. In discussions with the village and Chris, we realized we need to get a special use and we came forward with this process. This is very compatible to what's going out there because we do have the asphalt plant on the property. It's the same property. Concrete plant's right across the street. Right next to us is a landscape company with a big outside storage. We feel this is just compatible and we're just trying to use a need that's needed for truck parking as our neighbors have greatly done, much bigger than we have, but we're just trying to be compatible to everybody else.
Okay. Anybody from the commission have any questions of the applicant?
So are we going to be talking all four of these at the same time?
Yeah, we can, in the public hearing, it's essentially anything that we want to put into the public record about this application. Then we will close the public hearing and then we'll come out of the public hearing and then we will, we can vote on all of them in one fall swoop, or if you prefer to piecemeal them, we can look at each of them individually.
Okay. So the first question I guess I have for Chris is just to make sure that this special use is part of M1. I don't know where we see that. I couldn't find where it was referenced
Yeah,
specifically in the code.
it's more or less it's what we've been doing. There's not specifically spelled out there,
Okay.
but yeah, it's what we've been doing with other properties.
okay.
The Cody property and they had to do the same thing to get a special use
Yep.
for the truck parking. And the issue is it's not as if if it was a company like Orange Crush that had their vehicles parked there. That's part of their business. That has no special use. This is for leasing out spaces for truck parking.
Okay.
So Chris, we currently don't have a section in our ordinance anywhere or any of our zoning that allows specifically for parking. So that's the need for the special use?
Correct. And there is a section that references as an ancillary or accessory use to a business in the village who has an office, let's say, on Main Street, but they need to have property off-site for their equipment in a different location. There is that
Yeah, okay.
there is that special use for that use. That's kind of like, this is similar to that where you've got a business, but then they're using an off-site location to store materials. That's kind of the gist of where we're getting the special use from. And then the variances are to allow the
Right.
the items that are listed there that are required by the code if you have a parking lot.
Right.
And okay.
But, sir, your first name again?
Tim Winter.
Tim. Tim, you guys are not just parking Palumbo or PAL Group or PAL Land equipment. You're opening it up.
We
for
have
lease.
leased this 5.5 acres
Okay.
plus
Yeah.
or minus out
Yeah.
to another company, and they're
Okay.
leasing it to someone else. So we're leasing to one person, then he's marketing it out to other individual trucking companies or just individual
Okay.
truck drivers that need a place to park their truck.
So then,
No, go ahead.
yeah, so my next question would then be to you, sir. So for the variances, we need to, I think, have a little more understanding why specifically you can't build to our code. So we have several things here. So the first one, paved with asphalt concrete or comparable hard surface, all-weather, or dustless material. So why can't you improve your property to that standard?
Well, there's many different reasons. We're trying to be compatible to the rest of the truck parking in the area. The property to the east and north of us does not have any hard surface. Number two is this property has been this way for a while. Why I believe it is a hard surface. I think the one that me and Chris might disagree a little bit is the dust, but as long as this has been here, as hard as it's been, it's as good as any asphalt there is out there or concrete, because it's just been beaten down on. We've had piles out there of many aggregates for many years out there. So we feel it's just as strong as any asphalt that you could put out there.
So is your assertion that our ordinance is just not applicable to you?
No, I don't think it's an assertion. I think we're meeting the requirements. It's where if you do a new parking lot, you would need asphalt, but why this has been here for a while, the gravel and the grindings have compacted as well as they can be compacted and provide just the same structural stability as if I had a piece of farmland out there and I had to put a parking lot on there.
Okay. And then the next question is with the screening and the landscaping, why is that not something you can do?
It's more trying to be in conformance with the rest of the other uses out there. We are in a heavy industrial area. As I said, we have the asphalt plant is part of our property. That does not have it. Is not part of the concrete plant or other fill sites around us or the landscaping yards. We're just trying to be compatible to the rest of the areas that's around us.
And then my final question is in regards to the lighting. I see you're asking for a variance on the lighting. I've been out to your property. I see you have lighting there. I'm wondering what the specific variance is for the lighting.
The lighting that they have out there would not comply with the code that we would require, with a photometric plan and so forth. So it's out there for their security purposes.
Yeah.
But it would not. They're not going to go through the process of getting a photometric layout and submit all the submittals for that sort of thing, and then comply with the code. I don't know if Joe can speak. Joe Hines is our village engineer.
Yeah.
If you could speak on that a little clearer as far as what they would have to do if they were to comply with the code.
You would have to do exactly that.
Okay.
Show us detail of what streetlights they want, and they would also have to be cut off fixtures so the actual luminaire is set back in the fixture so it doesn't shine, above.
Yeah. So yeah, I clearly see that in our code is this. You can't have floodlights as your parking lot lights.
I think the biggest thing where it's a variance is you'd probably be shining lights on the public road right there, which I don't recall, Joe, maybe you know how much light, there's not much light on Rock Road in that area.
Yeah.
So it's, and now granted, it's just probably mostly Plody, Crush, and the concrete plant that really use that road when it's dark, and that's early mornings come this time of year or late fall. I can't imagine there's many other people using that road at that time. You might know better than me, but
Not for anything to that, sure.
Yep,
we might be helping out by shining some light then.
yep.
So apart from the verbiage that's in the variance part of the packet, is that the lighting that they have out there is not sufficient to meet the code?
It may not comply
Okay.
with the code.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the reasoning there is it's adequate, you believe it's adequate for your need and there's no reason to change it.
If it overshines the truck parking onto our asphalt plant, we're fine with that.
Yeah.
More light to protect.
Yeah.
We've had issues of people trying to steal
Yeah, I
stuff in
think
that property before.
because it says institutional land, so like if it went onto the public road.
Right.
Right, that's and it would be the long one, which
But yeah, right, I see Rock Road comes in off of 72 and it runs on the east side of your lot. The
Yeah.
the,
And
the
it
long-
basically
the-
dead ends
The,
right where
long,
we're
the
at.
longer
East
road
and
is
west.
actually just a private drive for that
Oh, okay.
business that's all the way
That's,
in.
that goes
Yeah.
back to
So it's only that
Lodi,
tiny.
I believe, who owns it now? It used to be Prairie,
So
where Rock Road ends.
he's talking about the metal.
He's
Oh,
talking, he's
yeah.
talking about the National Tool. That
Oh, the
drive-
national,
your-
that's a,
Yeah.
that's a
drive-
private road for
That-
us, for National
right,
Tool. That's our
okay.
private
Yeah,
road.
that's just a private driveway.
Yeah, so more light on our own private drive, we're happy about too.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the code is set up for an active parking lot. And obviously, you're not gonna have people parking and using it as much as a retail place where you can
Right.
make it more
Right.
uniform.
Okay, I think I'm good.
Tim, you had mentioned that you lease the land in bulk to a third party, and
Yes.
they're leasing it out. Do you know what they charge per truck?
I do not.
You're not. Okay. The special use, obviously, apart from the variances, you need the special use in order to utilize it as a parking lot. I went out there and I counted, well, not counted, I looked at, you've got all the blocks numbered, and I see that there's plus or minus about 130 or 135 spaces that you can probably fit a 53-foot trailer and a rig. And then there's another maybe 50 spaces that maybe fits a gravel hauler or something like
Yeah,
that.
there's some tight spots there,
Yeah,
definitely.
the ones in the middle, I don't know if you'd get a 53.
I question how they do get in and out
Right.
sometimes.
But looking at this, and then as you mentioned, there are other, PAL has another, it's got to be 2,000 spaces.
There's
and
a lot, yes, over there.
in other areas. I did call on the phone number, and they told me that a space rents for anywhere from $375 to $400 a month. Doing the math on that, that's all the truck parking that's out there may bring in excess of $15 million. I realize you guys have your 180 spaces. I just wonder from a village standpoint, what incentive will PAL ever have to develop that property if they're bringing in that kind of rent?
Well, I can't speak to
Sure.
what PAL has. That's a whole nother company that I don't know them. I don't talk to them about their business, and I don't know anything about it. With our property, we're very cautious with our property because of the asphalt plant and making sure we have enough room for our material. Our main line of business is still the asphalt plant with Orange Crush being out there. Especially with development in this northwest area, it's very important that we keep that there. So that's our main line of business. We keep this as shorter term leases that we just have to renew with this guy to keep this. As we have done with National Tool, we did develop, we did find the right person we feel comfortable with. I'm not saying we won't ever do it, or we just keep with the truck parking, but we're very cautious with this because of limited land space. That's all I could say, because we can't lose our storage area.
Yeah. Because I feel that, I personally feel that, and just so you know, Tim, and Chris maybe told you, maybe he didn't, is our commission here, we can't really look at any monetary gain or loss to the village.
I understand.
We're looking at this strictly from the land use perspective.
Yeah.
When you take this, regardless of what we do, whether we recommend or we deny you tonight, you will then go before the village board, and everything under the sun is in their privy, and
Yes.
they get to consider anything and everything. So we're just looking at it from a land use perspective. I believe that, especially in this area, I know of a couple places out in Gilbert's, and that truck parking is becoming a big thing because most villages prohibit semis or even tractors from parking in residential neighborhoods.
Yes.
So, and everything today is being moved by trucks.
Yes.
So, I'm almost looking at this from a standpoint of this could be the end game for the property forever. And in that case, all of these parking areas at some point should be made to comply to our codes. Now, I could agree with a reduction of a green space setback, because in an industrial park, I sometimes think green areas, unless it's a office industrial, industrial such as what the Rock Road Industrial Park primarily is, once you get back to your level. The front areas are a little bit more on the office type warehouse space. But I know I just have I struggle with the request. I realize everyone else around there has received they've either received a variation. I guess the only one I'm aware of that's received a variation was the Plody one that came in last October.
Okay.
However, and I sat on this board and did approve it, but that's because they were removing it right off of Route 72 and putting it in the back. So that was at least my reasoning for that. But I just struggle with the, I don't struggle with the special use for the parking, but I struggle with all the variances.
Understand.
Anyone else?
I mean, you do have the option of, putting recommending a time limitation on it. It could be 10 years, it could be 20 years, and then it would come back before the village at that time, and maybe other modifications or variances would be. So,
I was always told, and I mean, maybe things have changed because I've been on the planning and zoning for a long time, but back in like 2006 or 7, when there was across the street where Lael has his shop, there used to be a guy that made drill bits, and he came for a special use, and we tried to put a time limitation on it. And at the next meeting, Attorney Reagan came in and said, you can't put a time limit on a special use. Maybe you can put a time limit on the variances, but I don't know that you can put a time limit, because he called it essentially a condemnation of the business. You're letting them go into business, set up, do whatever they're going to do, and then you're going to tell them on this day it's going to end.
I'm aware that I used to work at another village, and work closely with Kane County because they handled some of the things for us at that time. And I know many of the special uses that Kane County would approve were time limited. They would be 5 years, and at that point it wouldn't go away, but they would have to come back. They would reassess the situation, how the business was being run, how things were around it now. Have they developed? Did things change? Should it be renewed again? And I know they did it, so maybe it's illegal, maybe they were doing it illegal, I don't know, but
I doubt it.
I know that they were doing it. So
were they set any fines if they didn't do it by a certain time?
No, I don't think something like that would be a whole nother chapter in adjudication or something like that if there were issues with violations.
So, Chris, too, I referenced before the meeting in that email to you directly this 157.193 section, which talks about the power of the board to do variances. And that specifically has a clause about temporary variances that expire after a year and have to come back every year, or be restored to the pre-variance.
Sure. So, and I could see where the variances could be renewed, but similarly, and I don't want to get too far off topic, but I personally feel that, and nobody's come back to the village yet, but when we give special uses, we give them to applicants. I think they should run with the property, because if it just runs to the applicant, they can never sell their business. We do have some stipulation, because I think even in the stipulation with Plody, they put in there that if for some reason the High Street property didn't go ahead, that their special use would be revoked. Right.
And then I believe that on part of Pal Land's north property, when he purchased that and then got an approval from the village for the truck parking up there, it was set to expire in 2023, which is an exact date. So they did it on those properties. They now have, I think, what they're negotiating again to extend that with the additional land that he's purchasing and other developments that are planned there, but that did have a 2023 expiration date.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's a recommendation.
Sure,
Whether
yeah,
you want to
yeah,
add
no,
it or
no, no,
not,
I-
it's up to you.
Right, no, I appreciate that, yeah. The other, I mean, the other issue that I have with I guess with the special use, however, just granting it on this piece is not going to correct the problem. I mean, Prairie is back there with trucks and that. It's just Rock Road from Route 72 back to where it makes the 90-degree turn to go towards the peaker plant is,
Yeah.
to me, it does not appear that it was ever put into any standard. I mean, I know a little bit because my family had a gravel pit up on Bowles Road in Carpentersville for mire material way back in the 80s. But that was a concrete road that was like 18 inches of concrete, and that road today is still in great shape. But that's not really part. Well, I guess what part of this application is just the fact that we're going to be potentially with 180 spaces, there's going to be that much more truck traffic going back and forth. So, anyone else? So I don't monopolize the whole meeting. Anybody else have any questions or comments for the public hearing?
Do we want to talk at all about the traffic? I know they said they would have no impact on the traffic. I didn't ask about that, but I mean, obviously you're going to have trucks, additional trucks going to that property that weren't going there.
There's trucks now.
Great. Yeah.
There are trucks there.
Yeah,
There's
there's trucks
going to be
now.
trucks, but we're going on a rock road, which is a relatively minor road. I don't know what Joe
Right.
classifies it at, but it's a short road. It goes out on 72 that's signalized, which I think is a better way to get it onto 72.
Yes.
And now we also have Christina, but these trucks are not going to Christina because I don't want them going out that back way
Yeah.
that you guys put in through our property.
Yeah.
It's onto the major roads. It's there. That was where our impact is negative. Rock Road will still have the truck traffic.
Right.
But it's already there.
Yeah, it's going to be
through us.
maybe some more traffic, but it's not noticeably different
Yeah.
than the
You're
road
going
down
72
the road.
back to Beverly or down 25 to get back on the expressway. That's all you're doing.
Joe, can you tell us, so Christina Drive has a bunch of improvements happening right now, and some of these are probably held up the speedway for the longest time.
Right, there's an intersection improvements.
Yeah.
Signalizing the intersection.
And I also mentioned this to Chris, I noticed driving up and down Christina, there's still a final lift of asphalt to be put on that road. Was that road designed wide enough? Is it just 2 lanes of traffic once you get beyond the intersection?
It's just 2 lanes.
2 lanes. And I guess at what point do our standards say when a road has to go from 2 lanes to 4 lanes?
It would be traffic volume would dictate that.
Okay. So I mean, I guess given taking Rock Road, which is pretty much would be the road here. I mean, I guess if I was a trucker, I know I could go out the other way and go around and come out further east on 72 in front of the peaker plant, or I could wind my way back to Christina and come out there. But at what point, given this use of 180 or so trucks, and then all the Prairie use, and then the PAL asphalt, at what point do you believe a 2-lane road and then all the additional traffic for the Rock Road Industrial Park is all sufficient on a 2-lane road?
I would, the traffic signals probably would need to be retimed if there's more side street traffic.
Okay,
And also keep in mind that Rock Road is potentially going to connect to Prairie Lake Road, so that could be a main road.
is that going up to 68? Okay.
Oh, wow.
That's the plan. I don't know what's going to happen, but.
So they
Sure.
can go that way then, instead of coming here? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay, any other comments or
I'm fine with
concerns
it.
you want to get into the public record? Okay, hearing none, I would.
Can I state one
Oh,
more
sure,
thing?
yes.
I was kind of waiting for someone to mention it, but there's a recommendation for a fence, an 8-foot fence with slats. We do not agree with that, and I mentioned that to Chris, and he knows that. And that's partially because to be on the same guidelines as the rest of the truck parking. We don't believe the 8-foot fence will really hide anything that's there, because obviously the trucks are well over 8 feet. All you're doing is just putting a fence up, and this is a heavy industrial park.
Okay, so, although there is, I mean, would you, and I would assume you're fairly familiar, is the current location that Plody is in now with their equipment does have a 8-foot fence with, I believe, barbed wire on top and some screening. The screening is blowing away now.
I am not positive which one Plody is and which one Pell is, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of land transfer up there, and
Right.
I honestly,
Yeah.
even though we're all the
Yeah,
same
so-
sort of closer, I don't know who they are.
This would be the
what-
parcel that's directly south or in front from Route 72 looking north. It's right in front of the peaker plant. And there's
I
a,
believe you're referring to one that's on Commonwealth.
yes, correct.
Yeah, that one does have a fence.
Yeah.
And it does, in fact, I think there's 2 different lots there with
Yes.
fences around it. And they do have some screening on that, yeah.
That's a storage yard, though, not a park.
Right, it's a storage yard, yes.
Okay,
Apartments,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
The part of the request was that currently they have frames from old tractor trailers tipped on their side for one section of the barrier.
Right.
There's no way that could ever
We
meet any
will
type
clean
of
that
code.
up. We will clean that up. When me and Chris met, we
Yeah.
just shut down and we just didn't have any employees, and we're cleaning that. We'll be cleaning that up. I'm not sure when that plant opened up, but I know they're just trying to get the plant actually
Right.
operational. Once
Right.
that gets in the gear, we'll clean that up, despite some internal people
Sure.
complaining to me. And talking bad about Chris, unfortunately.
That's all right.
But that's where we
But
go.
if they're not talking bad, I'm not doing my job.
Okay, a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Now, second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Braher,
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
Kruger,
Yes.
Stenick, and
Yes.
Scarpelli.
Yes. Okay, so what is the commission's, what is the flavor for today? Do you want to do each one of these individually, or do you want to try and compile it all into one motion?
One
And I guess
motion.
the staff have a preference?
I do not.
One motion.
Well, I have a different opinion between the special use and the variances.
Okay.
I
Okay.
would not want to both them together.
Okay, then I think we're gonna need to pull it apart and go piecemeal. So the first item, or what we would need would be if somebody would like to make a motion to either approve or deny the special use for outside vehicle and equipment parking and storage.
Me, I do.
Okay, there's a motion
I'll
to
second.
approve?
Hmm?
Okay,
Yes.
motion to approve and a second. Okay, any discussion on this motion?
So, I mean, I think this one is pretty clear. Other places in the area use that, have that use. It seems in line with what other folks are doing, so I see no issue with approving the special use.
Okay, and I guess to the degree, and obviously between tonight's meeting and the board meeting, staff can work together to get the legality to the board. Do we wish to put a time frame on the special use? If we can, or if your choice is just to limit the variations to a time period, we can look at that as well.
No,
Nope.
not me.
Good.
I'm fine with the special use.
Okay, then if there's no more discussion on the special use topic, Catherine, roll call.
Braher,
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
Kruger,
Yes.
Stenick,
Yes.
and Scarpelli.
Yes. Okay, the next item is a variance request from section 157.147B2 and 157.149B requiring off-street parking areas shall be paved with asphalt, concrete, or comparable hard surface all-weather dustless material. I would entertain either a motion to approve or a motion to deny.
Approve.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second? I would say that motion dies for lack of a second.
I mean, it is compacted, right?
Right,
So
it is.
there a lot of dust? I've driven through there, and I know the other quarry on the south portion does create a lot of dust, but
Yes.
that's the only part I'm on the fence about.
Okay, well, in order for us to talk about it, somebody has to either second the motion. If the motion doesn't get a second, the motion dies, and then essentially it fails.
Okay.
It becomes the recommendation to the village board would essentially be a no, that nobody amongst the commission seconded the motion to approve it, therefore it failed. So if and also something that wasn't covered, excuse me, Tim, there's some new board members here, new commissioners, and we just had a training 2 days ago. Something that wasn't covered in the training is, and it's really more of a Robert's Rules scenario or issue, is that technically the person that makes a motion in favor of should not vote against it. However, anybody can second a motion. Some people say, I second it for discussionary purposes, because in their head they're going to vote no. But anybody who seconds a motion is free to vote yes and free to vote no. Okay? So I guess I'll pull back. Motion by Kruger. Okay, second. Okay, so we have a motion and a second for the variance from the hard surface paving. I'll open up the floor for discussion.
I'd like to see the hard surface compacted to our satisfaction for inspection. You know, if they're using grindings, I'm sure there's some areas of the lot that are not, not compacted well, or it has the entire lot.
I have some aerial photos of what the site looked like over time, and let's see what I have here.
Just so dust is not an issue. I realize
Yeah,
everybody around there is,
Dusty.
creating some kind of dust, but
Yep.
just as long as it meets the satisfaction of the village,
Let's see.
I would be in favor of it.
Oh, like fill in the holes and stuff or something?
Yeah, I mean,
Make it level? You mean like that?
Steve, if you want to come down here, I've got MapQuest pulled up.
Oh, do you?
And from what I can tell by looking at other development throughout the area, and that is, I think this photo dates to like 2017. And you can see here's the area. They're still moving a lot
Right.
of earth here, and they still got a big pile of grindings back here.
Right.
So, and then if you go to
Because that can be compacted.
if you go to the county GIS site, this I think dates to 2018, and this is pretty well level. They're
Okay.
leveling out
Yeah,
back.
it's been-
And then if you go to the Google Maps satellite, which I think is 2019 or 2020, they've actually got trucks
It's
on there.
compacted.
Yeah, you need more, please?
No, just as long as we're good with that.
Yeah.
So I think my biggest concern is, I think it's very clear what our role is, which is to apply the input, the facts of the petitioner against, the rules that we have listed in our charter. And the variances need to meet this practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship, which I didn't hear tonight. It sounds like the reasons for doing it were to be like everybody else because everybody else did it. To me, it sounds like it's more money to make it paved, to add the lights, to put up the boundary. You know, it's not my position to agree or disagree with our code, but that's our code, you know. So I can't say that there's something special about this property that makes it need to not be paved. That doesn't mean, as Frank said earlier, the board,
Decides.
you know, they get to decide, and you know, they have a different role than we do. They get to be objective. You know, they get to be subjective. We have to be objective here, and that's just the way that I feel. Why I'm going to likely vote no.
Tim, I concur in that and I know you probably went through the packets, either filling it out yourself or before it got turned into the village, is in order to grant a variance from the land use only, no monetary concerns, none of that, is the petitioner has to provide a hardship. Why can you not? Why can't you do what the code asks you to do? And pretty much all I'm hearing is that everybody else is doing it, and that obviously there's a cost to pave the lot. Joe, if they were to, because I'm sure it's not just 2 or 3 inches, I'm sure with the weight of the trucks going in and out of there, you'd probably have to put down 2 or 3 lifts of asphalt, a couple of coats of binder, and then. What's that?
But yeah, definitely beefier than the normal.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else have any additional comments or questions?
Is it more so that they leave the truck there every month? Are they coming in and out a lot? Or are they kind of just renting out the spot and leaving their truck there?
I am not intimate with how the trucks go, because we lease it to a guy that operates it. But from my communications to this guy and other people we lease this out to in other places, it varies. And sometimes they're gone for 2 weeks doing whatever deliveries, they're back for a week. Sometimes if they drop it off at night, and it's all local. It varies of what everyone does. It's not a consistent.
Okay.
Consistent.
So it's minimal. It's what it sounds like.
It's not coming in and out 3-4 times a day. It's not one of those.
Okay.
It's not like a truck terminal there.
Thank you.
Tim, would you or the folks you work for, or even your tenant, would they be willing to pave all the drive lanes? And essentially, I don't know if you're allotting 10 feet of width per space, and then maybe 60 feet or 70 feet of depth. If the actual parking area were to remain gravel, but your drive lanes be paved, is that something that they would consider?
I wouldn't say no to it right now. I make it a point never to say I always like to look into it. I personally, having this truck yard and other truck yards, the concerns are always dust, as was pointed out, and the concerns is will it hold up? Will it hold up, which I think was one of your concerns, sir, is yes. It is 100% compacted. It is hard as a rock because we've been driving over it for 20 plus years. It's compacted. If there's a soft area, you get a pothole or whatever. Obviously, we have the asphalt grindings to fill it in and take care of that issue. The dust, I kind of go back to, it has been there for a while. It's not like it's new and sitting there. That's what creates the dust. So I don't know if you guys have been out on the property or not. Obviously, daylight today, if you went out there, there's no dust. You can't control that because of the water truck. And we do have water trucks at our plant. If you need, we could drive through there. But when it's that compacted, you're not getting that fine material. It is hard surface. It's just as hard as any gravel you could ever see that's going through. It just is not kicking up.
So Frank, is this something where we should look into doing a text amendment at some point for different classification of truck parking?
Well, yeah, so we cannot initiate a tech, we can ask staff, make a recommendation that staff look into it, or we can also make at the end of the meeting, we can make a recommendation to the village board, for the village board to look looking at text amendments as such. But yeah, definitely something we could consider.
Yeah, I mean, if we get more of these, right, it's going to be
Right.
Another person coming in with the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, our code says what it says.
Right, right. Okay, Steve, any further questions?
No, I'm good on that one.
Lillian? No. Okay, hearing no further questions, Catherine, call a roll. So this is for approval of the variance from the hard surface paving. Essentially allowing them to continue their operation on top of the asphalt grindings.
Brahner?
I would motion for yes, as long as they maintain that compact.
Am I answering that correctly?
If so, we can either, I mean, if you want to change the motion or alter the motion, you would have to make a motion to alter the motion, which you can do, or any one of us can do. So you would either have to make a motion to alter the motion, and then you'd have to ask the person that made the motion if they're okay with the alteration of the motion. Otherwise, we vote against this, and then we can make another motion. So I hate to be this confusing, but it's just kind of the following of Robert's rules, is that since the motion was not yours to make,
It was, okay.
you could ask for the motion to be changed. Although I guess what I would tell you is that, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if this passes and in July, when we haven't had rain for 3 weeks and there's dust coming up, Chris has the ability as the code enforcement officer for the village of East Dundee to go out there and tell the applicant or the applicant's tenant that you're creating too much dust and you have to make measures to do dust control. Because we have minimum standards for dust control?
We do, because there's other areas that I get complaints with in the vicinity, not at this spot, but in other locations where they're hauling in and they're moving dirt and there's dust. And I get calls from businesses saying my cars in my parking lot are covered in dust. You need to do something. And I'll call the owner of the facility. They'll get out there, like they say, with their water trucks. Yep. And they'll get on it and work on keeping the dust down. It depends, like you say, the time of the year.
Right.
If it's late summer and hasn't rained, it does get dust.
Can I state one thing about the dust? We don't like the dust either.
Yeah.
It gets into our vehicles. It's a maintenance nightmare. It is a maintenance nightmare just for us as operating the plant. I mean, it's not good for the plant. It's not good for any of our trucks. It's not good for our equipment. It's not going to be good for those trucks. So it's not something that we don't want either. I mean,
do you ever spray tar, or is that not ecological friendly?
We do not. We do not.
It's not friendly. No.
I don't know, Joe, if anyone does that anymore, at least in any urban-ish areas. On grindings, I haven't even seen that. When I was in school in Iowa, we saw that a lot. But.
Well, I grew up in Lakewood Estates in East Dundee, and the roads there were gravel sprayed with tar every year. So.
Yikes.
I didn't know if anyone still did that.
What's that?
They bubbled up every summer.
Yeah, they bubble up every summer and stick to my bike tires and.
Tough little ride in the morning.
Yeah. So Lillian, do you wish to amend the motion, or are you okay voting on the current motion?
I'm okay voting on the current
Okay.
motion. Yes.
Brunner?
No.
Kruger?
Yes.
Stenick?
Yes.
Scarpelli?
No. Motion passes 3-2. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a variance request from sections 157.149C requiring screening and landscape for all automobile and parking areas containing more than 4 parking spaces on each side adjoining or fronting any residential or industrial property. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve or deny that?
I approve it.
Okay, motion to approve by Krugers. Is there a second?
I second
Lily Brahar seconds. Okay, the floor is open for discussion. Questions, concerns, comments?
Well, I'd like to see it per the staff recommendations with the chain link fence.
Okay.
So I think that would need to be on there if we're passing it
So the chain link fence, does that meet the code?
with screening.
No, there's nothing in the code that requires a chain link fence.
Well, yeah, but so there's the boundary, right? So this is the variance for having just the landscaping or a barrier, right?
It's a variance not to, yeah, so that they don't have to comply with the landscaping portion.
Oh, just the landscaping.
Well, anything that's in that, in that language right there.
So essentially, we would be
Screening material.
giving them a variance
Staff
on the
recommended
basis that they erect the chain link fence.
chain link
Correct.
fence with
Yeah,
slats.
there's nothing on there.
To block it.
Well, I mean, screening, you could say, screening could be a chain link
Yeah.
fence.
Yeah, that's what I kind
And
of.
screening is typically landscaping screening.
Being a parking lot, you get a type 2 landscaping buffer, which is shrubs, basically, the whole, with trees,
Oh, okay.
Which does nothing for the actual, hiding anything or doing anything, so.
Yeah. in
Yeah,
this
I mean,
case.
because what I had considered when thinking of this, right, it's this 157, 149C, it talks specifically about a wall or a fence not less than 5 feet or more than 6 feet high, or a hedge, or a bunch of things. So that's why I was thinking that this would meet that part that they're asking for the variance for, which is this C.
I don't have it in front of me, the entire language of it.
Now, how far back are they from all those buildings from Rock Road?
What's that?
They're further back, right? Where this parking lot is?
So
Yeah, so see the area in blue?
Yeah.
That's what they're getting the variance for, because right now it's all one lot. So
Right.
it includes the asphalt plant.
But the businesses
and
on
that-
72 that have the shrubbery and
So
all
That's
that.
up
does
there.
the fence,
That's a
Well,
front,
there's-
okay. So they're back, okay.
In the language there, it says, fronting or adjacent to residential or institutional, and neither,
Right.
there's no institutional there.
so what does institutional count as? Not the
It would
road?
be more of like institutional would be schools or anything,
Okay.
that sort of, pardon me?
So they don't really need any screening then there, because there's no institutional.
Well, this is the format we've used in the past on all the other ones that we've approved.
Okay.
That's why it's in there.
They would, the type 2 buffer is required. of them.
Okay.
And Chris, the one thing I didn't see a variance from is, unless, does the entire M1 district have 0 lot lines?
No, they do not. You mean, you're
So-
talking about a setback for parking?
Right. So they also need that variance too.
Theoretically, they would, yes.
Okay, because it wasn't part of the,
That would be.
This is all one lot along with
Right.
the
Right.
asphalt
I
plant.
mean,
no, I know, but from the, essentially from,
I'd have to see how far back they are off of Rock Road, because they're not, the private drive, they're, what is it, 40 feet or 30 feet on the setback for side, front yard?
Well, the front buffer is 10,
10.
yeah, but the building setback would be
Okay, so they would meet the 10, they're more than 10 foot back from the village right of way on
Okay.
Rock Road, and the other drive is a private drive,
right.
and they're probably 40 feet off of that with that private drive. So they wouldn't need the variance for that because they don't, they're already
So
complying.
I guess the private drive on the south is part of this lot? It's
Yes.
not part of the national?
Correct.
No, National Tool is, no, it's part of this lot.
There's an
Oh, I
easement,
see.
egress easement that runs along.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's part of this lot. This lot goes all the way to the next adjacent property to the,
right,
to the south.
okay, okay. Okay, and then would there be setback on the north property line and setback on the west property line?
No, it's all one lot. This is carved.
No, I understand, but setback from the next neighboring property.
There is no next neighboring property, because it's all, this is all, if you look at the,
Are you talking?
So this here is not a neighboring property, and this is not a neighboring property, and these.
well, but the parking lot's not there.
Yeah.
Well, right, but we're granting this variance on the entire 33 acres, not just on the parking area.
I don't think that's the way it's,
It's posed as the pin, so it's the entire, I mean, what we're granting them is the entire pin, not just the parking area
Yeah,
within the
yeah.
pin.
That could be the case with the package they provided.
It's just a parking lot.
And you're not allowed to expand on a special use.
Okay.
So, I guess they control it.
Parking lot.
Yeah, that's the entire,
Yeah.
oh, the inset.
Right.
So I guess is the legal description that was provided the inset, or is the legal
no, the
description?
legal description is the entire
The
parcel.
entire parcel. Okay, so I guess,
But you're voting on a special use as presented, and you're presenting it.
right, so I mean, are we going, for compliance or for enforcement down the road, are we gonna rely on a picture, or are we gonna, are we gonna get a meets and bounds legal, or something? I just, that would be my only concern on that. So, okay, anyone else have any questions or comments pertaining to the screening and the landscaping of the parking area?
So they don't need anything because of where they're located. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Right, although the motion was made by Kruger, we will either need to vote on the motion, or if somebody, Steve, you wanted the fencing in there. So either we vote on it as it stands and either approve it or deny it. If it approves, then the fencing isn't part of it. If it dies, then we can make another one. Or if you're willing to change your motion or amend your motion to include the screening, the 8-foot screening as staff has recommended, then you can amend your second, and then we can vote on it.
I don't know, did I second this one?
No, I don't think so.
No, Robert was.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Our names are very close.
So do you wish to amend your motion to include the staff's recommendation of an 8-foot chain link fence?
No.
No. Okay, so there is no amendment to that. Your other option, Steve, would be to make a motion inside of the motion, and then we vote on that motion, and then vote on the other motion, or vote on the original motion.
I suppose if the original motion dies, I can present
Right,
what staff
yeah.
recommended.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call?
Brahar,
No.
Brunner,
No.
Kruger,
For what I said, yes.
Stenick,
No.
Scarpelli.
No. Okay, do we want to move on to the next item, or does somebody want to make a different motion?
I'll make a motion for the section 157.149C requiring landscape screening per the village recommendations, with the black chain link fence with slats.
Okay. Would anybody, there's a
Sure,
motion, would
second.
anybody second that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
So I kind of have a question on, we kind of, I think, identified that this specific part of the code isn't applicable here.
Correct.
That's
So
what I said.
why grant a variance on something that isn't
Right.
applicable to the property? I mean,
They-
I have
no.
a fence.
Some type of screening is required in M1.
Okay.
So it may not be specific to that language, is that correct?
Well, to your point, if you're gonna make a requirement as a variance for a fence, which the fence makes it non-area where you don't need a variance, there's no.
Right, I don't know
That's what
why.
I'm saying.
So I could see us having a suggestion coming out of this that we want them to have a fence that's not tied to a variance.
Okay.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I don't know where we would put that, but.
Right, but isn't this variation, this section code also varying the code that they don't have to provide the landscaping?
It does, see, the way, I think it doesn't matter if it's a fence or landscaping, it's all the
But
institutional property.
the landscaping would be
facing.
required.
That's a board,
But this
It's
is,
a board.
that's a board,
Oh.
it's not a-
Board.
Okay.
yeah. Because, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about this and they're all put together. The key words here are residential or institutional property.
Right.
Right, so,
Okay.
I
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, there's a motion on the floor and a second. There's a very good comment that this particular vote may have no impact at all in that it may not be a requirement. We can vote on it if you wish, or we can move on to the next item.
I don't see any harm voting on it.
Yeah. Catherine, call the roll.
Brahar,
Yes.
Brunner,
No.
Kruger,
No,
Stenick,
Yes.
and Scarpelli.
No. Okay, and then the final variance would be from section 157.149B, requiring lighting, illumination of off-street parking areas shall be arranged as to not reflect rays of light into adjacent residential districts and streets. Somebody would like to make a motion to that if they wish to grant that variance.
I do.
Okay, motion by Kruger. Is there a second?
I'll second
Second by Lillian. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Discussion. We heard from the applicant that they've got some lighting, and from staff that they have some lighting out there, primarily for security purposes, but they've not done the photometric study to determine what lighting would be necessary to comply to the code. I guess I'll just throw out that, again, I feel the entire application lacks proving a hardship and why any of this should be granted. And again, I'm not God here. I'm just an individual, and I mean, we just learned 2 days ago that every applicant, regardless if somebody got this same use 2 weeks ago, 2 wrongs don't make a right, and our findings of fact have to be factual, that there was a hardship and that all the conditions that are needed to grant special uses and variances are met. So that's my position on it, and
Well, I'm reading that it says residential districts. And is that street paved that goes to his place?
Pardon me?
Is that street paved that goes to the place of parking?
Yes. Rock Road is paved, so it's the street part. Yeah.
There's no houses though or anything?
No, there's no
And nobody's out there and, you know, running around, so.
So it's really just a street park. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, as I had said earlier, you know, I think we're saying the same thing back and forth on all of these points. It's,
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree with what you said. It's the same thing. And, yeah, it's nothing against your development, really. I mean, it's, and we have a trustee here who will be hearing your case, you know, in 2 weeks.
I wish I could tell if you're smiling or frowning.
Yeah, she's laughing.
So, so yeah, I mean, we have a specific job to do.
Yep.
Understand. I've been told a lot worse at these meetings, so I'm not worried. Not at this village, just sorry.
Steve, any comments or questions?
No, no comment.
Okay, Lillian? Hey? Hey, no? Okay, no further questions or comments. Catherine, roll call.
Braher?
No.
Bruner?
No.
Kruger?
Now we're voting for accepting it?
Yes.
Yeah, in favor.
Yes.
Stanek?
No.
Scarpelli?
No. Okay, so Catherine, just going over it, the special use was approved. The variation for the asphalt was approved. The variation for the screening was denied. And then the variation for the lighting was denied. So those will be going to the village board. And they'll also consider all the, whatever monetary gains or losses there are.
Yep.
And I guess, Chris, if you could, I guess, have Erica or somebody check into the legality of some of those before it goes to
Okay.
the village board.
Do you have to address the findings of facts also?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, yep.
So then the way it was filled out for the variances will have to be modified.
Right,
when you do
correct.
it. So, but you can look over the special use should be okay.
Tim, you don't have to stand if you want to take a seat. You're welcome to stand, but
I'm making people uncomfortable like to sit. I felt like I was going to hide behind something. Those people, so.
okay. Discussion of motion to approve. Okay, we need to vote on the findings of fact. So yesterday sent to us were some amended findings of facts. This computer.
On page 9, it looks like it's the first one.
Okay, a request for a special use for outside vehicle and equipment parking storage at 507 Rock Road LLC, PIN 0325215002 in the M1 Manufacturing District. Have you all reviewed those findings of fact? I'm happy to read through them if you'd like, or if you're in agreement, I would entertain a motion to approve the findings of fact for the special use.
I'm in agreement, so I'll make a motion to approve the findings of fact for special use.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Braher?
Yes.
Bruner?
Yes.
Kruger?
Yes.
Stanek? And
Yes.
Scarpelli?
Yes. Okay, and then on the variation, Variance request from section 157.147B2 and 157.149B requiring off-street parking areas shall be paved with asphalt concrete or comparable hard surface all-weather dustless material.
You got to take it a little farther.
Yeah. So the property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the conditions of the regulations in the zoning district. The plight of the owner is due to the unique circumstances. Let's see where-
Yeah, if you get a little bit farther,
Yeah.
it's going to be that we go out for.
Yeah, the filled out. Okay, so do you agree that the property in question cannot yield a reasonable return? The staff has filled out yes to that. Are you in agreement with the yes?
I don't know.
I don't think we talked a lot about it to
Yeah.
be sure. I mean, are we talking about the specific parcel, sub-parcel, or the overall?
The sub-parcel that we're discussing, yes.
I can't really make a determination on it. We didn't talk enough about, and we
You
didn't
don't
get a
really have the
revenue cost
information
on
to
it.
Right.
say that, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we could either change the yes to a not applicable, or we can change the yes to a no.
Yeah. So Chris, did you fill this out?
I did.
Yeah, so so what was your justification behind the yes?
It's pretty much the way we've filled them out in the
Okay.
past. It's,
Yeah. Well, it needs to be a yes to pass, right?
Yeah.
Well, no.
Oh, it needs to be one of, a couple of them?
No, I mean, the findings of fact are just the findings of fact, and they don't change our vote.
No, they don't change our vote, but like for the variance to have like gone forward, we would have had to, a lot of these would have had been met for the variance to have been, for us to have felt like voting for the variance, I would think, but.
Right, although some of us voted no. so-
Right, so that's why I think we're having some
I
issues.
mean, that's why you could modify these.
Yeah.
Right,
To
right.
no or
Right.
not apply,
Right.
or,
So I'm feeling more at putting number 2 as the no.
Okay.
To make it, the whole thing
Sure.
kind of indicate
Yeah.
no, but that's my take.
Yeah.
This
Okay,
one.
so on one, we're gonna put NA. Are you comfortable
I'm
with that?
comfortable with that.
Yes.
Okay, and
Do you
then,
want to read, sorry, do you want to read that one?
sure, it says, the property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the conditions allowed by the regulations in that zoning district, and then it says circle 1, yes, no, not applicable. And then explain.
And I think NA makes sense because it wasn't the
Right.
basis of our conversation tonight.
No.
And then 2, the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances.
I have a feeling of that one being no. I think their circumstances are like, other businesses in the area. There's nothing special about their property that made them specifically not need a paved lot or lights or that.
Right. Is everyone okay with changing that to no?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3, the variation if granted will not alter the essential character of the locale.
Correct.
Yeah, that's yes.
I would say that's a yes. Okay, the purpose of supplementing the above standards, the Planning and Zoning Commission is making its decision whenever there are practical difficulties or particular hardships So also take into consideration the extent at which the following facts favorable to the applicant have been established by evidence that the particular physical surroundings, shape, or topographical conditions of the specified property involved would bring a particular hardship upon the owners as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the regulations were strictly enforced. Yes, no, or NA. To me, it's a no, but
Well, it's more or less financial, right? The way I see it.
if anyone has a problem with saying no on that one, okay. Number 2, the conditions upon which the petition for variation is based would be applicable generally to other property within the same zoning classification. I would have to agree that that's a yes.
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 The purpose of the variation is not based exclusively upon a desire to make more money out of the property.
Well,
I would have to say yes.
yeah, I would have to say yes as well.
Okay. The alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person presently having an interest in the property. I would also have to say yes on that.
Well, could we say maybe on this one, or NA, do we have an alleged difficulty?
Yeah, we don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know.
and I don't like the way that reads because it
Yeah.
says they have not created their
Right.
hardship.
Yeah.
But their prior uses, to me, their prior uses of the land and how they've shaped it and finished it off is a direct reflective of
yeah,
that. But
Yes.
I'm open to
yeah, if clearly the justification was, well, we already made
right
this parking lot.
parking lot.
Then it would be there, but
Right.
there,
Yeah.
that wasn't brought up.
Okay, so
So-
4 would be NA. 5, the granting of a variation will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the neighborhood in which the property is located.
I'm good with it though.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too, no.
The proposed variation will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to the adjacent property or substantially increase or danger of fire or otherwise endanger the public safety or substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood.
No.
No. Okay?
Okay.
I believe that's it.
Was it a discussion in motion?
What's that?
Was there a discussion in motion?
Thank you. So we've just amended the findings of fact. We need a motion to approve our amended findings of
I
fact.
approve it.
Motion to approve.
Second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Braher,
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
Kruger,
Yes.
Stenick, and
Yes.
Scarpelli.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Winter. Obviously, you'll be in contact with staff and that before the village board meeting.
Yep, I'm sure we'll talk tomorrow.
Will you be at the village board meeting, you personally?
Pardon me?
You plan on attending the
Oh,
village
yeah.
board meeting personally?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yes, great.
No, always.
Okay, there's no
Thank
other
you all. Have a good
business
You too, take care.
on our agenda. Does anyone have any questions or comments or things that they feel staff should look into?
You want to discuss this tomorrow?
I think that the general feeling is that this is becoming a big business for us. You know, parking,
Yeah.
is truck parking, and we have our new tax, which is gonna make revenue for the village. I think we really should try to have a comprehensive plan on how we want to do it. So if that's a suggestion we give the board or something, because I don't want to have another one of these,
Right.
Right.
you know, 5 more times, you know,
That's
where you have
true.
to say the same thing.
I agree.
Were we, also, wasn't somebody mentioning something about we're gonna change some variants and we have to, because they're so old from the past of East Dundee, and then we're gonna look into different avenues? That's what I was told when,
Yeah, I think that's something,
that we have, so everything is not just written in stone. We have to go back to you guys and see,
Yeah.
you know, and how can it help us? That's what I got out of joining the board. Things are not written in stone. We have to
Right.
look into
yeah.
it.
So I think our position here will give us real visibility into the struggles of our businesses and our people, and then hopefully provide guidance on how to make things better.
Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely.
Chris, do you know, or Joe, you might know, was the last time, was 2003 the last time the comprehensive plan was redone?
Wow. Oh my
So
gosh.
that's our responsibility.
What?
It's only 19 years.
Parks was updated due to a tax request.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, was it Ramsey and Associates? No, he was the guy involved in the whole.
What's that?
What?
I think Vanderwall.
Well, Vanderwall, but there was also a firm, I want to say, out of, because I was on the board then, out of Northbrook or something like that. He did, it wasn't Vanderwall, but I know Vanderwall, what's that?
Constable.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, because, yeah, I mean, maybe the village looks at redoing or updating the comprehensive plan, and obviously then a lot of these things can change within that.
Because I could see more businesses like this happening. It's good money.
Yeah.
Well, it's, I mean, it's very good money, and I know that the county just denied one in Gilbert's, off of Terrell Road. I know another attorney who's a friend of mine who is proposing one on the old Coast Trust property in Gilbert's, and
I don't know.
the state certainly loves them because they get
They get a,
9% on every dollar, but
so.
Yeah, I don't know if you all know, right, that with that tax that we've applied, is it $6 a truck a month?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yes, the village board passed that
$6.
a month per truck.
right, so they have a vested interest
Yeah.
in approving this, but yeah,
That's a lot of trucks. We get a lot of trucks. So.
Well, there's what, they're saying there's like 4,000 trucks parked in East Dundee?
I think between
Wow.
3 and 4,
That
3 and 3,400
Behind the gas station, that's when they built that. Yeah, my
Yeah.
girlfriend
What?
was right there.
close. Yeah, okay, if there's
Close.
nothing else,
Okay. Yeah.
I would
Good idea.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
I
Adjourn.
would make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Everybody.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Yeah.
Just as soon as I take minutes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's
No talking.
yeah, well,
No
this is
talking.
great. I mean, the thing is, if we're on the video like that.
Yeah.
Discussion.
No, no.